to
Monday with the Mavens.
Okay, you guys, we have macro mavens here, medical mavens here, and today we are talking all things growth mindset.
Sorry. Sorry, I was just reading, making sure that we were good to go. Yeah, you guys, so having a growth mindset is so crucial. I'm going to use the word crucial to just overall well-being. And I think living in the world that we live in, it's really easy to not have a growth mindset, to kind of be stuck in a certain lane, but to be able to change your mind and to learn from the world and from different things will allow us to better make decisions for the well-being of ourselves and those people that we love. So
absolutely. We were actually talking earlier, and it's why we decided to jump on here and talk about a growth mindset today is I think in any area of life, it's really easy to just have linear thinking sometimes, especially when you've been exposed to something for a long time, or you just think you should think a certain way, or you kind of put yourself in a box, so to speak. And we specifically were talking about,
don't say it.
Well,
right?
I'm not gonna like say what it is.
Okay.
I mean, I did say specifically
because that's coming next week. We're gonna talk more about it next week.
There is something out there in the world that I think both of us had some strong opinions on out of the gate, just from what we knew, from background, from what we had heard. And we forced ourselves to do, I guess it wasn't forced, we chose to do a deep dive and to like really better understand it. And I'm so glad we did, because had we not have done that, we would be missing out on something really cool as an option for our clients.
Yeah.
And so it just was a really good reminder to not put yourself in a box and to wait on forming opinions. You don't always have all the information. Information's changing. To be fluid, to be flexible. And part of that has to do with having a growth mindset. And that means not being so structured or rigid or fixed in your thinking that you miss out on learning new things that might be really cool for you, or might help you expand, or might help you be in a better place, or might help you have more peace, or might help you be more well-adjusted, or whatever the thing is.
Help you understand people. I think that it's not just in like the world of health and wellness.
Totally.
Is this important? I think it's important in all aspects of life. I think it's super important as we come into a political season, and an election year, that we don't just, and I'm not on here to get political in any way, but to be stuck.
Ooh, get political.
No, I choose not to get political on the internet.
Yeah.
But to be stuck in one way and not to be willing to look at the ideas of the other side of all things is never a good place to be. So you want to make sure that you look at all sides of the story, that you're able to get all of the information and make the best decision for yourself, and to also be willing to change your mind. And I think that that's where kind of a lot of people go wrong, is you feel like you have, since you've made a stand on X, Y, or Z, that you have to stay in that lane the whole time, and you just don't. Like, as more information comes out, as you learn more about different topics and different things, it's okay to change your mind. That shows that you are growing, I think, and evolving with the situation or just how things come about. So
I do, and I will say, and I still have a lot of growing to do for sure, but as I've gotten older, even a lot of my friends that are very different from me, I actually really enjoy that. Haley mentioned even politically, like, you know, I have certain convictions that are really important to me, but one thing that I have learned as I've gotten older, and especially in working in different professional environments or in leadership, like, you have to be really careful sometimes. And what that's done is I really enjoy going into a conversation with somebody who sees things really differently than me, because if I go in with the intention of seeking to understand and like authentically wanting to try to understand why they have the position that they do, or why they believe what they do, and also being open to changing my mind, it's not always going to be changed, but being open to it, it's actually really fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to learn. It's fun to challenge my own way of thinking. Like, why do I think what I think, and what has led me to that? And, you know, even perceptions of certain things. Like, it's really easy. We all have our own experience that leads us to our view of certain things. And if we allow ourselves to better understand, to think of the facts that have led us to that, and are they actually facts? Like, I think, like Haley was saying, it's so true with health and wellness, but in all aspects of our life. So we said, did I do that? Sorry, I don't know if you guys can see the same thing, but there's certain movements and we like get bubbles of thumbs ups and things.
Maybe somebody was agreeing.
Okay, well, thank you. And I apologize. My screen, which is this one that I'm pointing at right here, is really bright. And so if I can't see myself, so if I'm squinting, that's why. We really wanted to get a little sunshine.
My dog, you guys, he's at my feet scratching at the deck. It's just driving me crazy.
Okay, so we said we were going to try to keep it somewhat sweet, short and sweet. And so we did just bring some notes because we really want to stay on target in terms of giving you and ourselves some tangible tools for really becoming more flexible thinkers and having a growth mindset. Flexible thinking and growth mindset can go hand in hand. They are a little different from each other, but I think maybe we first just talk about like what is a growth mindset?
Yeah, so guys, I didn't take any notes. When Emmy says we have notes, she took notes, and I tend to be a winger.
We're sharing our notes.
I tend to be a winger of things, but like, so, different people have, and we kind of got into this a little bit already, but we all tend to have our own belief system about certain things. And having the ability to look at all aspects of an idea, of a theory, of really of anything. Let's take health and wellness, since that's what we are in the business of. Let's talk about inflammatory foods, for instance. Like, I have a belief that like eating foods that are anti-inflammatory is better for our bodies. Now, if somebody were to come to me and say, you know what, there's been a whole lot of research on what foods are inflammatory and which foods are not, and I've always had it in my mind that like grains, dairy, alcohol, sugar, seed oils, those things tend to be inflammatory. If somebody were to come to me and say, look, a new study has come out and they're talking about how grains aren't as inflammatory as they used to be, I would be like, oh my gosh, I have to read that. I want to know all about it. I'm not just going to jump on that boat and be like, yes, grains are no longer inflammatory. I want to know the research behind it. I want to study, like, what were the studies? I want to learn, like, well, where did they come up with this research and how did it come about? And am I, at that point, willing to change my mind on inflammatory foods? Like, maybe the research is compelling me enough to be like, yeah, maybe grains aren't as inflammatory as I thought. Or maybe the research is showing me like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that yet. I'm going to do a little bit more digging before I make a final conclusion about that. So I think that alone is a pretty good definition of just the ability to look at all of the evidence and to decide on your own if your belief system is still, what you want it to be. Is it still as strong as it needs to be, or can you flex and adjust as needed?
Yeah, and I think that it is important, we talked about this a little bit ago, to have those areas of like where you do have your convictions and like holding firm to those. We're not talking about those items that are foundational to who you are as a human. It's more, where in life have you put yourself in a box and have you told yourself that things are a certain way? Let's say, for instance, that you come with a family history of diabetes or heart health issues, and you're just like, well, that's just my family history. Like, I have these, genetics or this predisposition.
Sorry, it's my dog.
Okay, we're gonna fix these really fast. Yeah. And so that's just gonna be like what my life is. You guys, you don't have to accept that. Yeah. Do you maybe have a little bit harder time because of what you were exposed to as a youth and because of your genetic makeup? Like, maybe. But with that example specifically, we got Samson here. They say, and this is not our quote, but I've always loved this quote, that your genetics load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. And I think that that's so true, in that you can choose as an individual how much you want to just believe that you might not have like a healthy, thriving life, or that you can't run a marathon, or that you can't have a ton of energy in the afternoon, or that you can't be hormonally balanced, or that you have to live in pain, or that you have to live like with insomnia, or whatever it may be. You can choose to believe that that's just the way it is, or that you were dealt a bad card for your health, or, and there are things for sure. I don't want to dismiss the fact that there are a lot of difficulties that people are dealt. However, there is a lot that is in our control. You also don't have to just believe the first thing that you're told. Like, do your own research, and that's where a growth mindset comes in. Be open to being coachable. Be open to learning new things. Be open to challenging what you think you know. Be open to looking at all of the information and then questioning it, and be open to like giving somebody who feels really convicted on something the benefit of the doubt and doing your own research. Maybe they're wrong, maybe they're right, maybe it's somewhere in between, but then you get the opportunity to choose with your growth mindset what works for you.
Yeah.
And so we'll get a little bit more specific here in a minute, but I did just write down, because I think it's really good, a couple sentences. One about what a growth mindset is, and then one about what the contrast of that is, because I think that it's easier to sometimes identify when you are contrasting the idea.
Yeah.
And so for a beliefs mindset, it's just the belief that our abilities and intelligence can be developed with effort and learning and persistence. And I think the effort, the learning, and the persistence are really important, because I do think if we're open to learning and we give it the effort and we're persistent, we can do almost anything, including changing our health.
Yeah.
Including changing our mind, changing our finances, changing our relationships, changing whatever,
changing
you
our
can fill
attitudes.
in.
I mean, it literally is anything and everything, you guys. I talk about it with my kids constantly, because I think kids are actually a really good example of people who are able to get stuck into a non-growth mindset, right? Especially when it comes to like things that are hard. Like I tell my kids constantly, like you learn from your mistakes, and when things are hard, that's when you really can push yourself. But that's when you have to engage your brain, right? You have to be persistent. And so sometimes maybe it's getting up really early in the morning to go to school or to go to a ski race or something, but being persistent in those things, you guys, it just teaches us how to grow, how to change, how to be flexible. It's so important, and it really does span every aspect of your life.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does.
Every aspect.
Okay, the contrast of that, which is more of a fixed mindset, not a growth mindset, is going to be avoiding challenges, feeling threatened, feeling stuck. I'm adding to this, but like believing
I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't.
I'll never be
it.
able to.
My family genetics won't allow for that.
Yeah.
I wasn't like. I just have to accept this.
Yeah. I don't have willpower. I'm not going to be able to make the right decisions.
I don't have the energy. My body just doesn't work like that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough.
My mom was this way. My dad was this way. Like, it's just kind of the lot I've been given.
Yeah, all of those things, you guys, are more of a fixed mindset. You are robbing yourself of the ability to grow, to expand, to improve, especially if you want that. Like, there's also nothing wrong with people who are at a place in life and they're just comfortable, and that's okay for them, and they don't want a lot of change, and like, to each their own, for sure. But if you are wanting to feel better, if you're wanting to do better, if you're wanting to live better, if you're wanting more joy, if you're wanting less pain, if you're wanting more energy, if you're wanting improved relationships, like, all of those things come with the need to grow and expand. Yeah.
Sorry if it's a little bit breezy on our microphones. We can't tell that until after the fact, but it is a little bit breezy.
Easy breezy.
Easy breezy.
Beautiful.
So, you guys, it's really simple. If you feel like you're in a fixed mindset on any topic, maybe it's cooking dinner, right? Like, oh, I'm stuck in a rut and I just eat the same things over and over again, and I just have a hard time with this. Buy yourself a new cookbook. You don't even need to do that. Just get on the internet and Google like delicious dinners, and you'll come up with a million ideas. And then take risks, you guys.
Yeah.
There is no shame in taking a risk. I do it all the time with my kids with food. I'm like, we're going to try this.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a hit and sometimes it's a miss. And you know what? The misses are actually more fun than the hits, because we laugh about it.
And they're way more memorable.
Absolutely.
You're creating a memory.
Let me tell you a story. For my daughter's, one of her birthdays, it must have been like her 7th or 8th birthday. And I was really in this like fixed mindset of like, we weren't eating dairy, we weren't eating gluten, we were on a completely non-inflammatory diet with my family. And so I made my daughter a birthday cake, you guys. And it was dairy-free and gluten-free and all the frees. It was free of all the stuff. It was free of all the goodness, let me tell you that. And I served it up at her birthday party, and it was horrible. Horrible. If you ask her to this day, tell me about the worst birthday cake you've ever had, she'll be like, oh, the time my mom made it for me, and we were at the climbing gym with all my friends, and
Hilarious.
it was terrible. Like nobody took everybody took one bite.
Made for a good memory.
Everybody took one bite, and then immediately the entire cake went in the trash. And it took me a long time to make. And did I get all upset about it and call myself a non-baker? No, I didn't.
And girl can make a cake too, so it's not for that.
Yeah, and so I took that experience and I was like, okay, that was a fail. But I learned from it. Like, do I always have to do things strictly in an anti-inflammatory manner? No, I don't. And I have learned and I have shifted and I have adjusted and I have a better growth mindset now. And I'm able to relinquish some of that control from time to time and allow some freedom.
Yep, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some tangible to-dos to help with a growth mindset. Number one, we're going to talk about adaptability. I like the word adaptability because in life, if we don't adapt, we're usually going to sink or swim. Like, you don't often just stay stagnant forever. Some people do, maybe.
I mean, how long can you really tread water? Eventually, you're going to have to give up or get out of the boat.
Or get a life preserver or something, and that's adaptability, right?
Yeah.
So adaptability is going to be asking for help. It's going to be persevering and pushing to the shore. It's going to be getting a tool to help you. It's going to be getting in a boat. It's going to have somebody to help you. Like, that's true in life. When you are faced with a challenge that you just cannot seem to make headway on. Headway on. Thank you. Then you oftentimes need to change something. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. And you guys, we oftentimes do that in life and don't even realize it. Here, let's get you more in that frame.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, so adaptability, what does that mean? It means being flexible enough to be open to new options and opportunities. Look for them, find them, recognize them, research them, practice them. Like, it's amazing what a difference that can make. Just even being open.
Yeah.
Being open is the first step.
Yep.
Okay, the next one
the next one is perseverance, you guys. It's not going to be easy the first time. The first time you try to change your mind and adjust things, it's not going to be easy. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel like a fish out of water sometimes. But you have to persevere. You have to keep going because eventually the things that were difficult for us will become easier, right? Like, I think about just the same thing. I think about the first time I ever tracked my food. Yeah. What a pain in the butt that was. Like, it was so hard. It was so frustrating, but it just did not take very long. As I persevered, that pretty soon it became easy. And now it's second nature. I hardly even have to think about it. It's easy. So perseverance, you guys, you have to push through the hard for it to get easy. Yeah. It's a good lesson for I think about how, like, this is such a good lesson for our kids.
No, and ourselves.
Like,
oh my goodness. One thing that's funny with perseverance is I did Taekwondo for a lot of years, went through all the belts. I was, like, really proud of my black belt at the time. Perseverance was one of, like, our 5 tenets of Taekwondo, and every time I hear the word perseverance, I want to be like, perseverance! Because that's what you do.
Hi-ya!
Anyways, side note. One thing I think is really important when you have a growth mindset so that you don't defeat yourself is to, especially when you're looking at using a growth mindset for achieving goals, it's to set realistic goals. And we've actually done like a whole live on that.
Go to our YouTube channel and check it out, you guys, because it's a good one. It's one that we should refer to more often.
Yeah, we should. I will say I personally live a little bit, probably too much in the go big or go home category, but I also really believe that, like, small steps lead to big changes. And so I do think that being realistic with your initial goals, like, we call them BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Like, I'm all about setting up that big opportunity, that big idea, that big concept, and working towards it. But you have to have bite-sized chunks to get there, because if you put something too big and too grand and you experience defeat, oftentimes you might not have the perseverance to keep going.
Yeah.
And so definitely, like, whatever the goal is, make it a stretch but realistic. And that's something that we work with our clients on. And I think that's just really important when we're working on a more flexible or growth mindset, that you also want to be realistic within that.
Absolutely. And having, like, smaller goals that you can see. There is something crawling on my hair.
I don't see
You
it.
see anything
No.
there crawling? Okay. Anyway.
Your hair's really clean.
I just washed it today. Thanks. Anyway, having, like, bite-sized chunks, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about that with stress, with dealing with stress, like the low-hanging fruit. Like, the same thing is true with your goals, you guys. Low-hanging fruit, each little tiny step in the grand scheme of things is going to get you to the end. And so taking one step a day, eventually you're going to get there. And so, having the big audacious goal at the end but then understanding that it's going to take a whole bunch of little steps to get you there. And that's where the perseverance comes in.
And it takes perseverance when you face failure. And like failure, you guys, is okay. Like,
oh yeah, how much do you learn from success? Not a lot.
And I don't want to say I was raised this way, because I think my parents, they did have high expectations, but like they didn't push that on me. Like it wasn't like I got in trouble if I failed, but like failure was not an option for me growing up. I put that on myself. And I do think that I very much got into this mindset of that failure wasn't an option. What I have learned, and I'm still learning, is that it is okay if you try your best, if you do your best, if you try to show up as your best self and try to be better each day. Like, you are going to have some failures along the way, and that's where we grow the most. It's hard to watch my kids fail and have to learn through that and not just always fix it for them, but that is where we learn the most. And I think that in raising my boys, I've learned more than anything. I've learned a lot of things. I'm still learning a lot of things, but I've learned more than anything that watching them face those struggles and face those failures is where the growth happens, and it's allowed me to be more okay with that, because we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So be realistic, have big goals, be realistic in those, be flexible in how you think as you work your way through that, but know that sometimes failure will happen, and that is okay. You're going to be your worst critic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Some things that can really help in cultivating a growth mindset along the way. I think this is a big one.
Oh, yes. Positive self-talk, you guys. Oh my gosh. It is unbelievable, the power of our brains and the words that we speak. Yeah. And we say it a lot. I tell it to my clients all the time. I'm like, if you wouldn't speak these words out loud to somebody you love, then why on earth are you speaking them to yourself?
Totally.
And you don't even have to be saying them out loud. It can be that you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and you tell yourself like, ugh, yeah, I just look horrible in these pants, or this doesn't fit and I'll never, or whatever it is, you guys. Our thoughts are really powerful. And I have a story to go along with this. I've told this story several times. She was one of my very first clients, probably one of my most challenging clients. She did everything right. She was super consistent with her diet. She was anti-inflammatory. She did all of the things I told her. She was really on it. But she talked to herself in the most ugly, negative way I've ever heard anybody. And she was really open with me about it. She's like, I've been like this my whole life. I hate myself. She's like, I can't look at myself in the mirror. It was just over and over and over. And for a long time, I was like, man, I feel like I'm a counselor, like more than a nutrition coach. I'm like having to counsel this person. And one of the things that we did is I told her, I said, I want you to tell yourself one thing that you love about yourself every single day, and I want you to write it down. First thing in the morning, get up, grab a sticky note, and write one thing you love about yourself. And she was really resistant to it, you guys, like super, super resistant to it. And she did. And so let me back up just a little bit. So she was doing all of the right things, and her body was not changing at all. Like, she was just staying absolutely stagnant, regardless of what we did. Her weight was not shifting at all. Her body comp wasn't shifting. She was super stagnant. So then, months into the program, I was telling her, I would love for you to just write down one thing you love about yourself every day. And start with like something silly, like, I love the color of my hair. I don't even care what it is. Yeah. Just one positive thing about yourself. And she started doing that. And then I would remind her. So then she would share that with me. She would text me or message me and be like, I love the color of my hair. And then throughout the day and the week, I'd be like, you have the most beautiful brown hair, or whatever it is. And I'm trying to speak like these positive words to her. And it probably took, 4, maybe 6 weeks of this, like really hammering it in hard, to where she stopped speaking negatively to herself, and she started actually believing the positive things that she was speaking into her and that I was speaking into her. And you guys, I am not even kidding you. Her weight finally came down, and she had a fairly significant amount of weight to lose. And it wasn't until she started believing that she was worthy of, feeling good and looking good and doing good and believing the things that she was writing and telling herself, that her body actually started shifting. I almost feel like it was like this act of God, this miracle, that her body was hanging on to like all this anxiety and all of this stress and pressure. And it wasn't until she was able to release some of that stuff and to like breathe some life into herself before her body would actually respond. You guys, our brains are so powerful. So powerful.
And either direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not to say that we should not take accountability for the things that we need to change, that we need to improve, that we need to grow. Like, I do think that that's important. I also think that believing in yourself and knowing that you have the capacity to make change, to do good, to be kind, to make an impact, to learn new things, like, it's so important, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't believe, and we say this to our clients all the time, and Haley's example with her client is a beautiful one. If you don't believe it will happen, it will not happen.
Yeah.
If you believe it's possible and you take the steps to make it happen, chances are it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so even having, we've actually spoken for longer than we thought we would, but that's the next piece of this, is having somebody in your corner, having accountability, having a coach, having a support system, whatever that may be, for whatever your goal is a really critical part of success oftentimes.
Yeah.
You can have the willpower to go out and to do something on your own and to make it happen, sure. But it's more likely that you're going to be successful if there is another person or a group of people that know what your goal is and that care about you and that are giving you encouragement along the way, because they will help course correct you where needed and give you the tools to do it. I wish earlier in life I would have understood the power of having a coach in certain areas. I now, if there's something I want to learn, if there's something I want to improve on, like, I typically try to find the person that I think does it the best or understands it the most, or because why reinvent the wheel? I might not do it exactly like them. I might find my own way, find my own nuances, all of those things, but I want to learn from people that are doing what I want to do in whatever area it may be. And specifically we have nutrition over here and like the more clinical side over here. With those areas, there's so much noise and there's so much information out there. If you can find a coach or a practitioner, healthcare provider that resonates with you, that understands root cause care, understands foundational goodness and wellness and health, and they can walk you through it to take the guesswork out of it, and they can look at you as an individual and what you need and what your goals are, it is amazing how fast you can make progress. So
yep.
We'll kind of wrap up with a shameless plug in that, and it might not be us. Maybe you connect with somebody else better or resonate with somebody else better. Fantastic. Like, whatever works for you. But from a Macro Maven standpoint, if you're looking to partner with a coach that really wants to look at your individual needs, your desires, your goals, work with you to get to your goals, give you a roadmap for that, course correct where needed, be your personal cheerleader, make sure that you have everything that you need for success, Macro Mavens is an amazing place to start. Nutrition is the foundation to better health. If you are confused about what might be going on with you hormonally, if you feel like you've tried all the things and like nothing's working and you're sick of feeling sick and tired, you probably need to have your labs done. We need to be looking at your hormones. We need to be looking at your thyroid. We need to be looking at your gut. What is going on clinically in you? And maybe there's some small tweaks that we can make to have you feeling your best and to get past that roadblock. That is Medical Mavens in a nutshell. So either way,
also autoimmune. If you struggle with any type of autoimmune, or you might think that maybe you're struggling with some autoimmune, Medical Mavens can totally help you on that front also. But yeah, you guys, now is the time.
Yeah.
Our bodies were made to feel good.
Yeah.
If you feel anything less than good, it is time to either get your nutrition on track. Yeah. Well, yeah, always
time to get your nutrition on track.
Yep, nutrition on track, Macro Mavens. If it's something a little bit deeper, Medical Mavens, you guys, it's this beautiful marriage when you are doing all of the things nutritionally to make yourself feel your best, look your best, do your best. And if some of that isn't working as well as it should, then Medical Mavens is there to support you in what you need. And it really is this amazing partnership.
Yeah, it's amazing. Macromavens.life is where you fill out a hop on board form to have a free consult to jump into the nutritional side. Medicalmavens.life is where you just click the schedule now button. We are offering an incredible deal with a $99 consult right now. So let us know if you guys have questions. Let us know what you are doing to improve your growth mindset. And we dare you to take the challenge. And the challenge is What is something that you feel like maybe you've put yourself in a box that you are committing to being open, to be more flexible minded, and to push yourself a bit?
And we will come back next week, you guys, and we're going to talk about an area where we feel like we were in a bit of a fixed mindset and where we have since shifted into a growth mindset and have actually changed our minds fairly significantly, and it could benefit you guys.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of you out there that can benefit from this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, guys, have the best week. We'll be in touch. We'll be here.
We'll be here. Let us know if you have questions. In fact, we'll hop into our stories, put a question box for Macro Mavens and a question box for Medical Mavens, and you guys can reach out with any questions you might have.
Yeah. Thanks so much, you guys. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.